I'm here with Dr. Sandi Nye. We're so happy to welcome you back. And as promised, we're going to talk about poultices. Just a little bit for those of you who are new to the channel, Dr. Sandi Nye wrote an article in 2013 for us on poultices. And this article is being loaded onto our new website called natmedworld.com. And today we're going to have this article come to life. So today we are going to talk about poultices. And tell us, what is a poultice, how is it made, how is it used, and how is it different to a compress?
Good. Well, first of all, poultices are not that fashionable anymore, but they are very wonderful because anybody can make them and use them with ingredients they have in their own kitchen. And they're an old-fashioned naturopathic remedy that have been used in most natural medicine traditions across the world for many hundreds of years. And basically a poultice is when you take some kind of plant material and you mush it up, either heat it or it can be used just cold so the juice can extract. You put it onto a cloth or gauze or some flannel or whatever your medium is going to be, apply it to the area that needs the treatments, and you would use different ingredients depending on what you were trying to treat. If you wanted to heat something up, for example, you would use mustard or ginger. If you're wanting to cool
Why would you heat something up?
If you're wanting to bring circulation to an area, maybe there's some infection and you're wanting to draw and bring a boil out, then you would apply heat so that you can get your white blood cells rushing towards the area.
You could also apply a poultice to draw out a splinter.
Yes, you absolutely can.
Right.
We spoke about soap in previous visits, and the soap can be mixed, for example, with sugar, and you make a paste, and you just put that onto a boil, and it's astounding how it will actually bring a boil.
So you grate the soap?
You can grate it, you can just mush it up,
and you put normal white refined sugar?
Any sugar will do, because you're making this paste, and that combination works really well to draw out splinters, boils, those sort of things. So drawing ointment. You want it to be more profound, you can even add charcoal to that. So that would be
another topic.
Another lovely topic.
To have you back
to
talk to you about charcoal.
To use for using charcoal and aloe and psyllium and various things one can use charcoal for, as in a poultice. So we can talk about that in a minute. Yes. You would take a poultice, a piece of cloth, you would put your material into it, put another piece of cloth over it, and then apply it to the sore area, for example, a shoulder. Wrap it with some cling film because you're wanting to keep the moisture, the heat in. And if you wanted to, if it was for increasing circulation, you could even put a hot water bottle on that.
Right.
And use it in that way. If, however, we were wanting to treat something and that's good for arthritis or sore joints, for example. So you could wrap that around your knee, but important to put the plastic over.
Just something that's cold and stiff generally that you want to heat up and make more mobile.
You would use a warming poultice for that. Warming in the choice of your herbs or spices that you would put in. So for example, if we had this ginger, we would just take a fine grater, grate the ginger into your little cloth, flap it over, put it on, but not to put the ginger directly onto the skin because it can be too heating.
So what do you do with the ginger then?
Well, you put it between the two pieces of fabric, and then the plastic on top, and then maybe a blanket.
Just the ginger?
Just like ginger. That's absolutely plenty enough. You could also, if you then have soft tissue injuries, you're needing to cool them down. So maybe bruises or things like that.
Or like a sore back?
For a sore back, generally heat works better. So a ginger poultice is pretty good on the lower back. And within minutes, you'd find relief usually. But as I say, old-fashioned method, but it still works even in the modern day. So your modern naturopaths might not use it as much as I do, but I certainly still think they're very useful. For the soft tissue injuries, we use good old potato. Everyone has a potato in the house. Grate that as well, and that's extremely soothing, even for things like conjunctivitis. And
you can put it in your eye?
Not in your eye, but on your eye. So you put that between some gauze, and you cover it over and put that onto the eye, or any area that...
So the onion for the earache, is that also something to use?
The onion, however, you wouldn't use raw, not for earache. You could use it raw for drawing and for other indications, but not for the ear. For the ear, you need to take your onion and heat it. You can either bake it in the oven.
One would think all the active ingredients would be out, all the active properties would be out.
But you leave the skin on, and it's all
right.
contained, and it's the heat that you're also looking for. So you take your onion once it's been steamed. You don't want it sitting in water, so you won't boil it. But you'll dry steam it or you'll bake it. Cut it in half and put a piece of cloth over that. It's nice and warm. Put it onto the ear and let the person or the child and just lie down. You can even wrap a bandage around their heads. Kids like that. They feel
and kids like
pirates.
Pirates. Or you can put it in a sock. I've heard people sticking the hot onion in a sock, so it's quite easy to hold.
In a sock, you could also use it in a sock like around the neck,
right?
Because the sock will, fit the contour of the neck, and then lie on it. And invariably, people fall asleep, and it does its job. With the onion, you could also use it for coughs, but that's another form of remedy. But onion can be used for a lot of things, as can garlic. You could use garlic.
How would you use garlic in a poultice?
Slice it. You wouldn't grate it because it's really powerful and it can actually burn the skin, particularly if you're using it on children for colds and to boost immunity. But if kids have got them mucousy and congested, then you could slice some garlic very thinly, put the little layer between two layers of fabric, and put the booty back on or put a little sock on. And that actually works very quickly, and within a few minutes you can smell garlic on the child's breath often.
So just go slowly here. You're talking about the skin underneath the feet, the sole of the feet,
foot.
And you smell garlic on your skin, so that's how you can get the garlic into the child.
Get the garlic into the child, and it targets where it needs to go.
And people say the skin don't absorb anything.
And the skin does. That's a whole other
another topic
series we could get stuck onto. So
if you doubt it, wrap some garlic under your feet, and then you can smell it on your breast.
Because it really can be. It's fine under adult feet to some extent to just put garlic directly, but don't do that with a child, and particularly not a young child, a baby. It's far too potent for them. As a substance. Same with ginger, you wouldn't do that. But you could also put compresses on children's chests to help them when they're congested.
So now you're talking about something else, about a compress.
Okay. About a poultice. You could do poultices and compresses. But to go back to a compress is basically also a piece of cloth onto which you will use something like a herbal tea. You could wring it out. Then you'll put your plastic over it and you'll put that directly on the skin.
So you soak a cloth?
You would soak it, wring it out.
Right. And that's the difference between a compress and a poultice?
And a poultice. The poultice normally has some form of biomass or plant material in it. Mm-hmm. However, you could also use an oil, and one of the most well-known compresses is the castor oil
packs. Could you please tell us what is a castor oil pack and how you use it? Because I know we've got a friend in common, Professor Majid Ali, in Canada, and he is absolutely advocating castor oil packs all the time.
I think they're extremely effective for pain control in particular. Excuse me. I need a ginger pack around my throat for this frog in my throat. But with the compress for the castor oil, you make something that's not going to let that castor oil ooze out because it's sticky.
Right.
It's really unpleasant to have it on
I'm so glad you say this because people wouldn't know.
It's awful.
They'd regret it afterwards.
Yeah. If you can use things like linen saver, which has plastic on the back, or incontinence pads that have plastic, and you can pop a piece of flannel or toweling inside that, open it up, almost as if you're opening up a nappy.
Right.
And then if it's that big, you're only going to put that much castor oil on because it will spread as it heats. You pour it on, then apply it.
Do you heat it at all?
No, it doesn't need to be heated. The body will heat it as soon as it goes on, and that will get absorbed. Then apply it to the area that you need. For example, if it's for menstrual pain, it can go over the lower abdomen. Plastic over it, nicely tied on with a bandage or some plastic and a hot water bottle. And within minutes, people have reported.
I was going to ask you how long.
Very quick. That reminds me using poultices, using compresses with castor oil of a patient who treated acute pain that she experienced with her gallstones for many years. And she said the longest it ever took was 20 minutes for her pain to be completely gone without any other analgesia, just from the compress, castor oil pack. And whereas you would throw your poultice material away, with the castor oil pack you can continue using it for a week or two until it's grubby and you need to change it. You can just add a little bit of extra castor oil.
And how would you reheat that?
You're not going to reheat that one because you just put it away, put it in a Ziploc bag or somewhere until the next time you need it. Then top it up if it needs to be topped up. Use it again.
And then you put your hot water bottle on top if you want to heat it that way.
If you want a hot water bottle extra, but most people don't even need the hot water bottle. It would depend on where you're using it and for what you're using it, whether you would want additional heat or not.
We've published articles on castor oil packs. We've published many, many more articles by Sandi. So please do go onto our site and just type in Sandi Nye and you will find her articles there. Thank you so much, Sandi. Appreciate your time. This was very interesting.